The song you're listening to is none other than Chicago's own Dante Hall with Tripping Out. I hope on this Sunday evening you're not tripping out. I'm surely not. Good evening and welcome to Intellectual Radio, Voices of Change. Today we have a special guest, Bridget McGill, who will discuss a bit about herself, her organization, and her upcoming book fair. For today's show, I will have a quick news you can use. People tell me they don't hear that anymore and they miss it. So I'm going to do a quick one. And then I'm going to bring on my esteemed guests. But I always start off with a scripture for today. It's from Philippians 2:4. And it says, "Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others." Now, I want to get right to the news you can use because you got to listen to this guest. She's going to have so many nuggets for us, and I'm just excited to be interviewing her. I've never met her before, and she's just a beautiful person. First of all, for the news you can use, an off-duty Chicago police officer was shot and killed after returning home from work in the Gage Park neighborhood early Sunday morning. Officers responded to a shot spotter alert in the 5500 block of South Kedzie Avenue just before 3 a.m. After touring the area, officers drove to the 3100 block of West 56th Street, where the off-duty officer was found outside with gunshot wounds. CPD Superintendent Larry Snelling said the 30-year-old officer was returning home from his shift when he was shot multiple times. He was taken to the University of Chicago Hospital, where he died. Today, that officer was a victim of the type of crime he was working against to keep people safe in the city. The officer was a six-year member of the department, and would have turned 31 years old in only 2 days. Mayor Brandon Johnson, in a statement, identified the falling officer as Luis M. Huesca of the 5th District Priority Response Team. Prayers to his family. Mayor Brandon Johnson scored two major victories Friday as the Chicago City Council passed the $1.25 billion bond plan and a $70 million migrant package. The two big outlays face tough pushback as they work through City Hall, but their ultimate passage gives Johnson much needed money to continue the daily churn of migrant caretaking while adding a sprawling pool of cash to spend on housing, job growth, and economic development. On the soap opera news. In an industry where the future of soap operas appears uncertain, CBS Studios defies the odds with a groundbreaking announcement: the green light for a Black soap opera, The Gates. This move marks a significant moment as the network prepares to unveil its first Black daytime soap opera in 35 years. Scheduled to grace screens in January 2025, The Gates promises not just entertainment, but a fresh perspective. Set within the confines of a posh, gated community, the series will offer viewers a glimpse into the lives of wealthy Black people. It's a narrative that's long overdue. The genesis of The Gates lies in a collaboration between CBS Studios and the NAACP. Procter & Gamble also joins the ranks as co-producer. Sheila Duckworth, president of the CBS Studios NAACP venture, expresses excitement about the project's potential to be a groundbreaking moment for broadcast television. And that's a sentiment echoed by many who recognize the importance of representation and diverse storytelling. Now, it was 35 years ago since the first Black soap opera, and the first Black one was titled Generations. That's where Vivica Fox got her start. In other news, an 81-year-old Ohio man has been charged with the murder after allegedly shooting an Uber driver who thought she was picking up a package from the man's house. Both appear to have been victims of scam phone calls. The Uber driver, Lolitha Hall, was found shot multiple times near 81-year-old William Brock's South Charleston home on March 25th. Brock, who had called 911, had an injury to his head and ear and was bleeding when police arrived. Hall, a Black woman, was taken to the hospital in Dayton, Ohio, where she died of her injuries. Investigators discovered that Brock had earlier received a scam call about an incarcerated relative, which had involved threats and demands for money. An unknown man told Brock over the phone he needed $12,000 to get his nephew out of jail, according to a police report. Brock told police the caller threatened to kill him and his nephew if he didn't pay the ransom. The same caller, or an accomplice, later hired Hall using an Uber app to pick up a package at Brock's residence, according to investigators. Hall was not aware that Brock had been threatened. Miss Hall, suffering from other medical conditions and unarmed, made no threats or no assaults toward Mr. Brock and made no demands other than to ask about the package she was sent to retrieve. Brock allegedly held Hall at gunpoint and demanded to know the identities of the people who had called him. He also took Hall's phone and refused to allow her to leave. When Hall tried to get back into her vehicle, Brock allegedly shot her, and there was a subsequent scuffle at the door of Miss Hall's vehicle. Brock then allegedly shot her 2 more times, all before calling 911. Brock is charged with murder, which carries a penalty of 15 years to life in prison. Police are considering other charges. Brock pleaded not guilty, and the bail was set at $200,000. This is just so crazy. It looks like somebody called her and said, "I want you to pick this up," and apparently someone called him and said, "We want $12,000, or we're going to kill your family because your nephew's incarcerated." But it didn't make sense. This lady comes to his door to pick something up, not threatened, an obvious medical condition, no weapon, and he shoots her 3 times. I don't know about this story. Dr. Frederick Haynes III, the senior pastor of a church in North Texas and the president of Rainbow Push Coalition, has stepped down from leadership after less than a year being over the organization. NBC obtained a letter of public resignation statement on Tuesday, April 16th, in which Hayes announced his resignation as CEO and president of the civil rights movement effective immediately. He said, "I remain committed to honoring the rich history of RPC and the legacy of its esteemed leader, the incomparable Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr., and most significantly to the calling and pursuit of social justice. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all who have expressed their support since my appointment in July of last year. Rest assured that my work in the fight for liberation and freedom continues." I wish him well. I heard him speak about a month and a half ago, and this man was just on fire. He was awesome. I hate that he's leaving the organization, but sometimes we just got to do what we have to do, I guess. There's been no shortage of controversy surrounding Netflix animated Good Times Black Again reboot. The trailer was met with a decidedly negative reaction from Black Twitter. People took issue with the offensive stereotypes portrayed in the first footage. Original series stars John Amos and Bernadette Stanis noted that it would be hard for any show to match the cultural impact of the classic comedy. With all 10 episodes hitting the streaming service on April 12th, viewers finally got a look at the full version of the reboot. And it seems like many opinions haven't changed. In fact, they may be worse. Many believe it feels like it resulted from an AI search of all the stereotypes of Black people. Viewers seem particularly offended by Evan's family's youngest child. His name was Dalvin, and he was a drug dealing baby. This to many is especially egregious, as he represents the original Evan's youngest son, Michael. And everyone might know Michael was a pro-Black, militant, and smart, headstrong young man. I'm just shaking my head and telling folks don't watch it. Dalton trustee Andrew Holmes in the South Suburban Village embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard were sued this week for an alleged sexual assault of a village employee in Las Vegas last year. The civil lawsuit was filed Monday in Cook County by the now former village employee and a Dalton police officer. It accuses Holmes, also a well-known community activist for victims of gun violence, of sexually assaulting the village employee. Henyard is named for allegedly trying to cover up the incident to protect herself and retaliating against the employee when she tried to come forward about the assault. The lawsuit comes from the same week former Mayor Lori Lightfoot was hired by the Village Board of Trustees to investigate Henyard, look into possible mayoral misspending, and the allegations connected to the May 2023 Las Vegas trip. Neither Holmes nor Henyard's office responded to requests for comments. Rumors about the rape in Las Vegas circulated on social media last month, as well as claims about Holmes' arrest in connection to it. Holmes has denied the allegations in a phone call to the Sun-Times. According to the lawsuit, Holmes allegedly assaulted the woman on May 26 in his hotel room. Then he later called the police officer to tell him about it. That was strange to me. The two were attending a conference in Las Vegas with Henyard and other officials from Dalton and Thornton Township, the lawsuit states. The village employee joined the trip as one of Henyard's assistants, according to the suit. The police officer was there as part of the mayor's detail. On the night of the alleged assault, Holmes and the village employee went out together after a group dinner. The village employee said she knew Holmes well and considered him to be like an uncle. I hope they find the truth with this. And the last story is over the weekend, Iran's attack on Israel. And this is just a view. This is just a view, so just take it as that. The attack on Israel was an incredible theatrical success. According to news reports, Iran attacked with 20 ballistic missiles, 170 drones, and more than 30 cruise missiles, with nearly all of them intercepted with little or no harm. This attack was planned to minimize casualty and damage, but maximize the visual effects with news and media impact. Iran's attack was a well-scripted show with no intention to cause serious damage. How were Israel, Jordan, and the U.S. so prepared for this attack? Simple. They may have got a heads up days before. So you may ask, why would they do this? Because both sides win and benefit. Iran shows its supporters it's doing something, while Israel receives international support and resources. Since both sides and the U.S. have said they don't want a full-fledged war, Israel had a limited response. And I pray and I suspect the tensions will subside in a few weeks. Wish they lay this to rest. Now, and that's the news you can use. We're going to take a quick break. Then I'm going to bring on my esteemed guest, Bridget McGill.
Once there was a boy and girl. Boy said, I love you so. Girl said, I'll never leave you. They grew older and left each other, 'cause that's the way love goes. That's the way love goes. And there's a time, seems like you'll never find someone willing to love you. Keep on looking, you soon discover a mighty love will sometimes make you weep and moan. A mighty love, you sit all day by the telephone, 'cause you're all alone. You need a mighty love. Some say that you're sure to find true love and peace of mind.
For those just tuning in, you're listening to Intellectual Radio, Voices of Change, and my name is Jan. I'm your host this evening. And next to me, I have my esteemed guest, Miss Bridget McGill. Good evening, Miss McGill.
Good evening.
Can I call you Bridget?
Absolutely.
When I heard that name, okay, when I heard the name, I said, Bridget, huh? Okay, Bridget McGill. Okay, tell me something about her. And the first thing she said, Janice, she's black. Anyway, whatever. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Bridget McGill is a longtime Chicago West Side resident, award-winning author. And I didn't realize how much of an author. All these books, they're hers. All these books, I didn't know she wrote all these books. And founder of The Queen Within. So now I got to change everything that I was going to talk about because I didn't know all this. How many books have you written so far?
7.
7?
7.
How long have you been writing?
I published my first book in 2017, but I've actually been writing since I was a kid, and I was on the school newspaper for elementary school and for high school.
Oh my gosh, 7 books. Well, okay, so I didn't read a full bio. So I want you to tell the listening audience a little bit about yourself. 7 books, y'all. 7. Had no idea.
Well, first of all, I am a mother. I have two daughters and I have two grandchildren, one boy, one girl. I am from the Austin community. I moved away a few years back and then I came back home. And I am a author and I'm a Chicago public school teacher as well.
Oh, that's a whole conversation. What grade do you teach?
I teach fourth grade math and science.
Oh, math and science. Okay, STEM. Okay,
Mhm.
good, wonderful. Boy, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. So, you're a parent. You have children. You're an educator. You're an author of multiple books, and you teach in the school system math and science. What did you always want to be a teacher, or did you want to be an author, or did you want to be both?
I had never even considered being a teacher until literally, I had never even thought about being a teacher until after I had already went to college and everything. And I just kept seeing so many disparities among our children and with other teachers that are not like us and how those disparities kept happening. And I decided, you know what? I can talk about it or I can be about it. And I went back to school, got my degree in education.
That's admirable. And speaking of disparities, that's a real big topic. You hear about it all the time. You hear about a typical 11th grader, where they say 26% of them can't read and do math proficiently. And I see that as a huge problem because they also say, in the same vein, they're graduating most of these students, 84% of them. And I don't know at this point what we can do, what the teachers can do. Which I know we didn't plan talking about this, but I didn't know you did all this stuff. What's your take on that?
A lot of students are being passed through because they're making the basic grade. And if you make the basic grade, then you've made the basic grade. If you take one of the standardized tests and you score so much and you make the standard grade that needs to be met, then
Okay.
you're passed on. And it's really creating more and more of a disparity among people of color because we can read basically, but we're not able to read at a higher level and get the comprehension that we need. As an educator, you learn from pre-K to third grade, students learn how to read. After fourth grade, you read to learn. But if
True.
you've missed those standard skills, those basic skills that you have to keep building on, then you're always just going to be a basic reader. And if you're met with a basic reader, a basic reading test, then you just stay basic. You don't grow in your comprehension, you don't grow in your reading skills.
Are our kids missing it? That gap between, you say, kindergarten and third grade? Are we missing that?
A lot of our students are, and we can keep blaming it on COVID or we can just jump back in. Because we were learning before COVID. A lot of students were still learning during COVID, but we have to get committed in the home, and in the school, and get committed to make sure that our babies are learning how to read. We have to get off the phones. We have to get out of the TV. We have to write those we call them sight words. We have to write those words down. We have to label things around the house and make sure that we are saying directly, bring me that. No, what's that? Bring me that book. Bring me that cup. And how do you spell cup? How do you spell book? We have to reinforce it every day or it doesn't happen.
Hmm. You're right. I know when I was growing up, I come from a huge family, and we used to have to read the news, read an article in the newspaper, and then stand up in front of the whole family and tell everybody what we read and interpret it. And it's
Absolutely.
like, and reading was, we used the libraries. It was expected. But then in class, we had to read so many books.
Absolutely.
Do they still do that? I don't know.
It depends on the class. I
Okay.
teach math and I have a library in my class. So when I have the students that finish early, we call them early finishers, they know to go and get a book. Whatever page you read from that book, you have to write a sentence or two about it. And no matter what subject is being taught, there should be a station a small library or a place where there is some reading taking place every day in any classroom.
How does that make, when you think about future generations, how does that make competitive with other people when
Well,
we're not proficient, or we lack these basic fundamental skills?
then we're going to stay at a disparity against other people if we don't start catching up. And I do want to dispel the myth, because a lot of people believe that so many people want to say that all Black children can't read. And that's really, we know that's not true.
Right.
But we have to make sure that we don't let them just stop at the basics. Once they get to fourth and fifth grade, we can't just keep cheering them and say, oh, my son knows how to read. My daughter, she knows all of her sight words. Well, sight words create other words. So
Mhm.
we can't stop the pushing. We can't stop the learning. We have to keep going. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to compete with other races and stay abreast of everything that's going on.
I think a lot of that have to start at home. How do we incent? I know you can talk to the children and stuff, but how do we incent the parents to not let them have so much TV time or so much computer time or so much, I don't know, time watching WrestleMania or whatever they're doing? How do we do that? How do you do that as an educator?
Well, the parents have to buy into it. The parents have to know that, how did you learn how to read? How well is your comprehension? Do you want your child to learn better than you? Do you want them to have a greater level of comprehension than you did? We have to get the parents to buy into what's going to happen to your child later if you don't get them prepared now. We have to get the parents to believe that I have to keep pushing my child. I can't just put her in the room with her tablet and say, okay, go ahead, sit down. And even if you do, what are they doing on the tablet? Because there's so
Mhm.
many digital education programs. So you still have an opportunity to make sure your child learns. It's just how you set them up to do it. But the parents have to buy into education being valuable.
I know we didn't come here to talk about CPS, but this is intriguing to me. Do you think CPS has a bad rep? Because all I hear is negative things about CPS.
CPS does have a bad rep, but when you work in CPS every day and you can account for the part that you do,
Mm.
that's what you account for. We recently had a teacher that left during Christmas break. So for 3 months, I had 38 students and I did have two seekers in my class to help me, but we had 38 kids in one room. And even after we took our middle of the year standardized testing, we still score above the 70th percentile. So the work still can be done if you are committed to the work. You have to get the kids to buy into it. And the teacher, the educators in the room have to have a positive attitude. If we say, okay, it's 38 of us plus three teachers, there's almost 40 of us, but we can still do it. If you get the kids to buy into it, then they'll do it.
Yeah.
But if you have a bad attitude, oh my God, there's 38 kids in here, then the kids are going to feel that way too.
Mm.
So as an educator in CPS, I get my students to buy into, you have to learn this. And I type everything back into their everyday life so that it makes sense to them.
This is intriguing. I didn't know, but I know we're not here to talk about CPS. So I want to go into the queen within. But you kind of mentioned something. I want to go backwards. You were talking about stereotypes, and we're talking about stereotypes and how I feel that everything I read CPS is depicted negatively. Doesn't that also ring true? Because I'm a West Sider. I live in Austin too. For the West Side, whenever people talk to you, and they always want to say, "Where do you live? Where do you live?" And when you say West Side, they automatically. Do you find that too?
Absolutely. For years, I worked in corporate America downtown before I became a teacher.
Mhm.
And every place I worked, I had two jobs for all of my corporate world. And every time there was always, well, she's from the West Side. Well, they're from the South Side. And people do have a negative opinion of the West Side, but I'm always about dispelling any myths. I'm going to prove to you that the West Side is not all murder, it's not all gangs, it's not all violence, it's not all drugs. And I'm going to prove to you that every day when I come into this office, you'll have to ask me if I'm from the West Side. There'll be nothing about me that's stereotypical West Side.
Yeah, I really hate that because generally people have these stereotypes types about black people anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But then within the race they categorize us based on geography. I think
They do.
it is how it is. So what exactly, you're the founder of this initiative or program called Queen Within, and I'm loving that name, the Queen Within, because we're all a queen within. So
Absolutely.
tell me about the Queen Within.
The Queen Within was founded in 2017. I actually had the name a long time, but I just did all the paperwork, the EIN, and all of the
Mhm.
legal stuff. But I came up with this initiative because there's so many women that don't even know their value. They don't know their worth. They don't know that they are a queen. And all of us are born as princesses, goddesses, queens, empress, whatever you want to deem yourself to be. But if you don't know it, if nobody puts that in your mind, if you're not raised with that concept, or someone is constantly telling you you're beautiful, you're smart, you're a queen, you're this, you're that, you don't know.
Mm.
But there is a queen in all of us. And I come from a family of women that took care of themselves. We encouraged each other. Me and my sisters, we still encourage each other. Sometimes we have to remind each other. Now, don't forget who you are.
That's right.
And it's important for each of us to know. And some of us don't want to know. Some of us don't want to know right now. And those that don't want to know, you save a seat for them for when they're ready. But when the women are healthy, the men heal, the children heal, the communities heal. When a woman is healthy, everybody around her is good. When she understands her queenship, and that her queenship is not letting everybody run over her. It is not, I'm going to take care of everybody else and then take care of me last. It's not, I'm going to make sure that everybody else has everything they need and I'm going to be in lack. That's not queenship. Queenship is, if I'm good, everybody else around me is good also.
And that's an excellent point because women hold the whole community and the whole race in the palm of their hand by their
Absolutely.
leadership. So that is so important. Now, with your organization, the Queen Within, do you guys do functions? Do you have fundraisers? What do you do?
We do it all.
Okay.
One of the things that is very important to me, as you said about the west side of Chicago, we live in the Austin community. The Austin community is the biggest community of the 77 communities in Chicago. So a community with that type of status should have everything they need.
That's true.
And we have Mother's Day. This year, we're having our 12th annual Mother's Day brunch. And that is to encourage mothers, aunties, sisters, cousins, because each of us has been a mother to someone in some type of way.
Tell me about that. Where is it going to be? Is it going to be on Mother's Day?
It is the day before Mother's Day.
Saturday, okay.
And it's going to be, that's Saturday, May 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be at the same place the book fair is going to be,
On Lamont.
1150
Okay.
North Lamont. And then on June 15th, we're going to have our second annual Father's Day brunch.
Nice.
Because we want the fathers to be encouraged the same way we encourage the mothers. We have different events throughout the year. We have an event every September because September is the birthing month. So we have some type of initiative every September. That's how this book came about.
Birthing Purpose.
Mm-hmm. And every year we do something in September to get us ready to end the year, to get us ready to start what we're going to be doing for the new year. Because whatever you want to do in the new year, you should start it in the year before.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. And September is the birthday month. So every year in September, we have some type of initiative where we do corporately.
Okay. I'm going to again take a quick break because I want you to think about this and you're going to probably need a minute or two to think about it. I
Okay.
want you to go through and tell the listening audience about all of the books that you wrote.
Okay.
That is such an accomplishment. 7 books.
Okay.
7 books. So we're going to be right back after a quick break.
If I gave you my love, I tell you what I do. I'd expect a whole lot of love out of you.
Feel like something is
You
about to
got to
happen.
treat me good, and
You're
I'll
listening to
be
Intellectual
good to
Radio, Voices of
you.
Change, and that smooth voice again is Dante Hall out of Chicago. You know, he hasn't
There's
been
a
on the show in a while.
whole
I'm going to have to call him and have him come on the show and say hello to everyone. But we are back again with Bridget McGill, and I've asked her to tell us about all these books she wrote. Bridget, the
All
floor
right.
is yours.
All righty. So the first book I wrote and published in 2017 is How Does Your Garden Grow? Cultivating the Life of Abundance. And this book is metaphorical language that compares a physical garden to your life garden.
Mm.
So, the same things that you need to keep a physical garden healthy, you need to keep your internal garden healthy. You need good soil, you need sun, you even need your fertilizer, which is your mess, because that helps us grow as well.
Oh, I like that. The
Yeah.
mess. Yeah, I like that.
You need to prune things. Sometimes you need to cut people out, situations out. You need to add good soil. You need to take out bad soil. And sometimes you need to just dig down and pull out and throw away. Okay. Then I wrote the this is the garden journal that accompanies the book. I did write it so that it can stand alone, so that if you only wanted to do the journal, you could do the journal and it's effective. But of course, reading it with the book is better. And
Yes.
in this journal, you have quotes, you have prayers, you have scriptures, you have challenges, you have different exercises. So there's a variety of things. It's not just your, I'm going to sit down and write journal. It challenges you to think.
Who did your artwork? It's beautiful.
J.L. Woodson of Woodson Studios. He has done all of my
They're
covers.
beautiful.
Yeah, mostly all of my covers. The next one I did was Birthing Purpose. And we did this, I believe, 3 years ago as a corporate 21-day fast. So we created, everybody that was in the fast had bundles of different oils, detox baths. And then every day we had a different speaker come on into the Facebook group and tell us about their purpose and how their purpose was birthed. And your purpose is not going to stay one thing. It's going to keep evolving as you keep pouring into yourself, collaborating with different people, and finding more and more ways to grow in your own purpose. Redemption is my first fiction book, which is very different from those because with fiction, you have to use your imagination. You have to line up the dates. You have to line up the facts and what happened to this person. Did I not connect the point? You have to make sure that all the dots connect. And then you have to just really let your imagination just run wild, depending on how juicy you want the story to be. This book does stem from my 11 years working in the hospital. I saw many disparities happen to people of color. And I actually had a friend that was in a diabetic coma, but the hospital didn't know because nobody did the basic CBC blood
Oh,
work.
and this person's in the hospital.
She was in the hospital. And when they finally, somebody said, let's do some blood work, she had been in a coma at that point for 4 days.
Did she make it?
She did make it. She's doing well now. She still does have diabetes, but she almost lost her life because nobody took the time to just do a simple CBC blood workup. And that happens to us all the time.
And that probably explains. Well, I don't really know what explains recently the morbidity rate for women that are having babies. When we
Absolutely.
used to have babies in the fields and go back a couple hours and work in the fields, and now we go in hospitals and we don't come out.
Nor does our baby.
Ugh.
And that's the thing. That book stems from how what happened to the person in the hospital. The hospital took the blame and they shifted it to someone else, and someone found out. And that happens all the time. That's not an uncommon thing.
Was there any litigation with your friend who was in a diabetic coma for it? Oh, you probably can't talk about it. That's all right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. This book, at the school that I teach at, I lead a mentoring group called Emerging Queens.
Mm.
So we decided to do a fundraiser. So they chose the quotes, they chose the self care tips, the coloring
These are
pages.
high school kids.
These are fourth grade to eighth graders. Yes, they chose all of it, and I put it together, and we used it as a fundraiser for different field trips, our T-shirts, our tote bags, and I'm so proud of them because the book still is circulating through the school. I teach at McNair Elementary School, by the way.
And where's that at?
It is
Is it
at
in
40
Austin?
It is 4820 West Walton, which is near Austin and Cicero.
Got it.
Augusta and Cicero. And then this book, it is a collaboration of a few different authors, and we all just, there's 9 people that we work together to put this journal together, and it's the My Affirmation Journal. Each of us took a couple of different quotes. We put them together. So now you have quotes, you have challenges, you have schedules, and all the things that you need to go through a 21-day cycle of just changing and using affirmations to become a better you.
Out of all the books that you wrote, and you wrote quite a few of them, which one gave you the most rewards? Which one you feel the warm and fuzzies?
It'll always be the very first one
Mm.
because this is the one that proved to me that I could write a book.
And how long did it take you to write that?
You know, I had started this book maybe 3 or 4 years before I published it, and I just kept picking it up and putting it down, picking it up and putting it down. And then I decided, you know what, you have to bring this to completion. When I made that decision, it took me maybe about 6 months between the edits and all the self-publishing. And the one I don't have with me is Concrete Bayou, which is my second fiction book that was released in December. It is my favorite because it is the contemporary version of the story of Esther told through the lens of sex trafficking.
Interesting.
And it's fun. It is
Interesting.
fun. Got a lot of good reviews. A lot of people are looking to purchase that at the upcoming book fair.
Now, this is a great segue. Miss Author, tell us about this book fair.
Woohoo. So this is our flyer. I don't know where to show it. And this is our third annual book fair. This came about in 2019. You know how there was so many pop-up shops when the pop-up
Yes.
shops were really getting popular. And I just thought one day, what if there was a pop-up shop and it was just all books? And it was just all these different authors and wine and cheese and grapes. And it was just this real whole vibe. And people could just come and buy books. And that was in 2019. And then COVID hit. And then COVID stayed. But in 2022, we were finally able to just put together the first book fair. It was held at one of the local park districts. The room was good, but the parking was bad. And the room was good, but the handicap accessibility wasn't good. You have a lot of people carrying books, and they have
Right.
cases of books and their banners and all these things. So then we moved it to the Bethel New Life campus, and we had it there last year, and we're going to have it there again this year.
And does that have parking?
Much better
Okay.
parking. There's great street parking, and they have a parking lot. Our goal this year is 30 authors, and of those 30 authors, 10 of them are Black men. And that's the thing. We really wanted to highlight the brothers this year so that people come in, and they are reminded of how intelligent the Black man is.
What types of books?
There's all kinds. There's fiction, nonfiction, romance. We have a couple of erotica, but the covers don't say that.
Mm-hmm.
We have children's books. We have self-help books, inspirational books, journals. You name it, we have it. With 30 authors, there's no genres that we don't have.
Is this something for all ages, like from kids to adults?
This is a community book fair. So if you are 80 years old and you still read books, it's for you. If you are pre-K, because we also have 200 free books that we're giving away to children.
Nice.
So if the children come, they get free books automatically. And we have people that have written children's books as well. We have grab and go snacks. We're going to have a panel discussion, 2 men, 2 women, and I'm going to moderate that. We're going to
Nice.
have face painting. We're going to have vendors, and it's just going to be this big community event for everybody in the community to come.
And tell us the exact location, and tell us the streets for those
Okay.
directionally challenged,
All right.
the time and the date.
It is this coming Saturday, April 27th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It is at the Bethel New Life campus, which is 1150 North Lamont. The cross streets are Division and Cicero.
Thank
There'll
you.
be balloons and everything out there, so you will know exactly where we're at.
And it's on the 27th.
Yes.
Saturday,
April 27th.
11 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And this is free to the community.
It is free to the community. We want everybody to come out. We want people to join the panel discussion, to ask the authors questions. What was their inspiration? We're going to have information about self-publishing, which people always want to know. And we want to restore the beauty of reading. There's nothing wrong with picking up a book. If you read on a Kindle, that's fine. But read something every day. You don't become a better reader if you don't read every day. Even as an adult, I read something every day. It keeps the mind working good.
It does. It
Mhm.
does. I'm looking forward to this. This is next Saturday,
Yeah.
4/27, 11 to 3 p.m., 1150 North Lamont. For those like me at Division and Cicero, balloons will be highlighted so you'll be able to see it. And this is something that can touch anyone of any age in the community, which is great.
Absolutely.
So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, just say, I don't know, maybe it was a struggling school, or they wanted someone to, creatively give these kids incentive and they wanted you to be a speaker. How would they get in touch with you?
Okay, so they can reach me by I'm on all social media as my name, Bridget McGill. And I also have a old Yahoo that I now just use for business, and it's Bridget McGill at yahoo.com.
Okay. And would you spell that, Bridget?
Yes, it's BRIDGETT, no space, MCGILL at yahoo.com.
If I had a 12-year-old child and I wanted to start them to read, what would you say was a good goal to say, okay, you should probably start them, Jan, to read, I don't know, 2 books a week, a book a week? What would you say?
It depends on that child.
Mm.
So if the child is a big reader, maybe 2 books a month. If the child really loves to read, maybe 3 books a month. But the main thing is to find out, what does that child like to read? Because if you read what you like, you read a lot of that. So what do you like?
That's a good point.
You have lots of books for middle age or middle school girls and boys. And right now, one of my writing partners and myself, we are collaborating on a graphic novel that is about math. So the characters are fighting and they're trying to get through this whole maze, but in order to get through, they have to solve math problems.
That's good.
They have to solve math problems. So that graphic novel is probably going to be available in October. So the more we as a people create what our babies want to read, they'll read it. Everybody is not going to pick up a book like this, a chapter book, and read it. But if I make it fun and there's quotes and there's challenges and there's things for you to do, you're most likely to read that if that's the type of reader you are. We have to find out what every child likes to read and how they like to read, because they're not all the same.
For this book fair, how would you count success? Would you count it as a number of people that walk through the door, the number of people that are impacted? How would you count it?
One of the things we do want to do is have at least 200 people come through the door.
Ooh, that's
We,
nice.
we going big. We going
200.
big.
That's
We going big. And we also want the authors there, every author there. It's not always about selling out of your books, but it's about the collaborations that happen. It's about the networking. It's about which one of these authors gets invited to speak somewhere. Which one of these authors is invited to come and read their book at a, like you said, at a school, at a church. So it's all about, what does everybody take away? You know, you may sell one book, but you may get 3 speaking engagements.
which is excellent.
You know, you may sell 50 books. We did have an author last year. She sold more than 50 books. One author, she sold more than 50 books, and she is a very talented author. In fact, she is Nalena Koch. She's my writing mentor and my editor.
Okay.
And so you may sell a lot of books, you may not, but what else did you get? If it's your first book fair, then you get the experience. So there's something for everybody to take away. But one thing I'm focused on really this year is the numbers.
The numbers.
Mhm.
You want that. You want the 200. And when you talk about book sales, what's and I know they vary,
Mhm.
but if you were to say like a range, the books would range from $10 to, I mean, how would you, I know it's hard to do this, but
So books, depending on the book, depending on the author, the books range anywhere from $5 to $25.
oh, that's good.
I have
That's good.
I redid the covers of these 2 books. So all of the books that have the old covers, I'm going to sell all of them for $5.
It's the same content, just a color,
It's the
just a
same
cover.
content. I just changed the cover.
That's good.
Yep.
That's
So
good.
it just depends on the author. Some authors give discounts. If you buy so many books, you get one free or you get a discount. But the prices range from $5. What I am looking for, though, still is someone that makes custom bookmarks. So if there's anybody out there that makes custom bookmarks, please send them my way. We are in search of that.
Are you pushing this to schools in the area? Because I imagine a teacher may want to buy books for some class.
You know, this week one of my goals is to reach out to John Hay School,
John Hay, yeah.
Nash School, and Lewis School, because those are the schools that are directly surrounding Bethel New Life. So I will be stopping at all of those schools this week to drop off flyers.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
As a final question, you may want to think about this, but probably not. You're so prepared. What's next for Bridget McGill? You've written 7 books. You've done multiple book fairs. You've done multiple events for the Queens. I mean, you're just doing. What's next for you?
2 things that I would really love to see in the Austin community is a satellite campus from one of the universities. You have lots of communities that have a satellite campus of
Yeah,
a
like U of C. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes.
You're right. You're right.
So in the Austin community, we would love to have an extension of, say, I graduated from Northeastern Illinois University.
Mm-hmm.
If we had a satellite campus in the Austin community, that's one of the things I'm going to be working towards. Another thing is a summer reading program. I keep
Excellent.
seeing all of these flyers, but it's in Oak Park, it's in Wicker Park, it's in Linga Park. Why don't we have a summer reading program
Excellent.
right here in the Austin community? So those are the two things that I'm going to be pushing for next.
Excellent. Do you have anything else to tell the listening audience before you leave it? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There's so many things I learned with you being here. I didn't know you wrote all these books and you're doing all these great things for our kids. It gives me hope. It gives me hope because all I hear is other types of things. So thank you. It gives me hope.
You're
Any
welcome.
of your final words?
We would really love for people to just come out and support. Even if you are not a reader, if you're not a person that loves a book, just come through the door. We want people to come through the door. We have snacks, grab and go snacks. Come get a snack, come get a bag of popcorn. But we do want the numbers because we want people to know that in the Austin community, we're doing more than gang banging.
Come
We're
on, come
doing
on, come on.
more than killing, shooting, robbing. But if you come and see it for yourself, then you will help us dispel the myth of what people always say about the West Side. You come through the door and see for yourself 30 Black authors, and 10 of those authors are Black men that are doing the thing in the world of literacy, because literacy is always going to be necessary. So just come out and come through the door and support us. We would appreciate that.
Again, come through the door next Saturday, April 27th, between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Bring a friend or bring a couple kids with you, or middle-aged people or people your age, it doesn't matter, at 1150 North Lamont at Division in Cicero. You have to come to this event. I'm right in the neighborhood, so I'll be down there, at least for a minute to see what I can go and get and, you know, check everyone out and have some cheese and crackers.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, I appreciate you so much being here, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want you to share, 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 share. Tell a friend about this event. And if you're anywhere near the West Side, on a Saturday morning, it's 20, 30 minutes from anywhere in Chicago. Come by and visit. 1150 North Lamont, 11 to 3 p.m. for a wonderful book fair, book selling from $5 to $25 or $30. So there's something there for you. There's probably multiple books there for you. We'll be back next week. I'll be with next week with Khalid Scott. You know, that's Relationship Sunday, so I'm looking forward to that. And again, I thank Bridget McGill
Thank
for
you for
being
having
for
me.
gracing our studio here at Intellectual Radio Voices of Change. Signing off for now. This is Jan. Have a blessed week.